You like to believe you'd know that if evil walked past you on the street, some instinct would flare up and warn you. But that's not really what makes a killer's story stick with you. It's not whether they looked normal. It's what they did once no one was watching, and how far past murder some of them went. Today you're ranking 6 killers, not by how many people they killed, but by how far each one crossed a line most people can't even imagine crossing. We're starting with the one who turned death into a hobby. Number 6 is Ed Gein, a farmer in rural Wisconsin. When police searched his property in 1957, they didn't just find evidence of a killing. They found furniture upholstered in human skin, a shade pole made from human lips, bowls made from the tops of skulls. Gein had spent years robbing fresh graves of middle-aged women who resembled his dead mother. Investigators also found a bodysuit stitched from real skin, which neighbors said they'd sometimes seen him wearing alone in the yard at night. His actual murder count was small, only 2 confirmed killings. What made Gein different wasn't the killing. It was that killing was almost beside the point. He wasn't trying to end lives. He was collecting material for something else entirely. Number 5 is Richard Chase, known in the press as the Vampire of Sacramento. In December 1977, Chase broke into a home, shot the owner, and drank her blood at the scene using something he grabbed from her kitchen. Weeks later, he killed a mother, her 4-year-old son, and a family friend in a single afternoon, and left with parts of their body. Chase told police he needed blood because his own was turning to dust. A delusion so complete he'd been drinking blood from roadkill for months before he ever killed a person. He wasn't hiding evidence or covering his tracks. In his mind, he wasn't committing a crime. He was surviving one. Number 4 is Albert Fish. In 1928, Fish lured a 12-year-old girl, Grace Budd, away from her family's apartment with the promise of taking her to a party. He killed her at an abandoned house outside New York City. 6 years later, still uncaught, he mailed her mother a letter describing what he had done to her daughter, in enough detail that investigators traced the handwriting and postmark back to him. At trial, x-rays showed dozens of sewing needles Fish had pushed into his own body over the years, part of a private ritual of pain he said he'd practiced since childhood. Fish's victim count likely wasn't high. What makes his case impossible to shake is that he chose to relive it by writing to the one person he knew it would destroy. Number 3 is Andrei Chikatilo. Over 12 years in the Soviet Union, Chikatilo murdered at least 52 people, most of them children and young women he approached near train stations and led into nearby forests. Each killing escalated. He stabbed victims dozens of times and mutilated their bodies afterward. In several confirmed cases, he removed and consumed parts of his victims at the scene. He later told investigators that killing was the only time in his life he ever felt in control of anything. 12 years isn't a single loss of control. It's a routine he built, refined, and kept coming back to. Number 2 is Issei Sagawa. In 1981, Sagawa, a literature student in Paris, shot and killed a classmate named Renee Hartevelt in his apartment. Over the following days, he consumed parts of her body before he was caught trying to dispose of her remains in a public park. French courts ruled him legally insane and unfit for trial. Instead of prison, he was deported to Japan, where a gap between the two countries' legal systems meant he never served another day. For decades afterward, he wrote books, gave interviews, and appeared on television describing the killing in detail, at times cooking and eating meals on camera as part of the persona he built around it. Sagawa ranks above Chikatilo, not because the act itself was worse, but because he was allowed to spend the rest of his life profiting from telling it. Number 1 is Jeffrey Dahmer. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer killed at least 17 men and boys. His case stacks nearly everything on this list into one person. He kept skulls and preserved body parts in his apartment as keepsakes. He violated the bodies of the dead. He consumed parts of at least one victim, later saying it made him feel like that person would always stay part of him. With one victim, a 14-year-old boy, he tried to keep him alive and controllable by drilling into his skull and injecting acid into his brain while he was still conscious. The boy died within hours. Dahmer is number 1 not because any single act here was unique to him, it's that one person did nearly all of it, to 17 different people over more than a decade before anyone stopped him. Looking back at all 6 cases, the pattern isn't about hiding in plain sight or fooling a system. It's about what happens when a person stops seeing a body, someone's daughter, someone's classmate, someone's son, as a person at all. Once that line breaks, what's left isn't really about killing it. It's about appetite, ritual, control, a delusion so complete the victim disappears before the person even does. That's the part true crime keeps circling back to. It's not the kill that stays with you, it's everything the killer decided came after.